Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to our live stream today. We're here for the annular solar eclipse in Capricorn. And so, this is the Art of the Feminine podcast. And our theme for the video today is the return of the solar feminine codes. And I am so excited to talk about this and to bring it in with the solar eclipse that's taking place in Capricorn. I thought of the eclipse and the holidays and the solstice and everything that's coming immediately, and the ring of fire immediately. What came to me was the solar feminine, and the solar feminine is really the core of the curriculum that I work with at Art of the Feminine. And so if you're new to my work, I specialize in the divine feminine wisdom. And today we're going to be applying that wisdom, which covers alchemy and high and just the awakening of the soul, the awakening of consciousness, the healing of sexuality, the reconciliation of the masculine and feminine on the planet and within each and every one of us. We apply these teachings through the astrological lens and through the archetypal lens. And there's a lot of really beautiful energy that we're going to look at today. And so happy holidays. Happy holidays. It feels like it's such a it's a really powerful time of year. Depending where you're at personally, it can be a very emotional time of year, but it can also be a time of just focusing on home and family and really coming into the hearth fire, which is really our heart. But when we're surrounded by people we love, and when we take time out of our busy days and our work schedules to focus on eating and breaking bread with family and just sitting around in our homes. Homes are very, very important at this time. We're going to be talking a lot about it because we'll be looking at the axis of Capricorn and Cancer. We have about 6 more months of the North Node and South Node, the nodal axis transiting this axis. And so we're going to really look at what that means in terms of that. So for today, I just want to make one quick announcement. I'll remind you again at the end. I am doing this Friday, December 27th, I'm doing a live webinar. It's a free webinar, and it's called The Archetypes of 2020, The Archetypes of 2020. A lot of you have signed up already. I had to postpone it, and I sent out an email in MailChimp, and it ended up not reaching a lot of people. But please know that webinar is on this Friday. It's going to be really, really fun, exciting, and powerful, because I haven't even talked about yet. I haven't even shared with anyone the archetypes that have come in for the year for 2020, and they're amazing, and they have a lot to do with what we're talking about today. But so I don't have a sign up on this video. You can find it on my website. You can sign up for Akashic Insight. It will be going out in the Akashic Insight newsletter I'm going to send it out on Thursday, the 26th, the day of the eclipse. And so that's that. A couple more things I'll say at the end, but I just wanted to remind everyone of that because it's coming up and it's going to be really, really just informative and creative, thought-provoking. And that's what we try to do here with this work. We try to stimulate the creative imagination so that we can birth a reality that holds seeds of a much higher consciousness, and that plants them in the hearts of all human beings right now. We really need it right now. So hi there. Oh, nice to see you. Okay. All right. So what should we look at first? I think we will. So let's talk about what an annular solar eclipse is. So at the annular solar eclipse, the moon is going to move across the face of the sun, and it will appear as a ring of fire. And so right away, when I think of that imagery, I think Light Body Tantra, which is one of the courses I teach that has to do with the merging of the masculine and feminine energies. And I think of that happening within our own being. When we look at the archetypes in the zodiac, we're looking at the archetypes of our own body of consciousness. And so everything that we're talking about has to do with transformation that's happening within us. And so it's just to give us insight and clues as to how we can consciously participate in some of these energies. So when I see the image of the ring of fire, it reminds me of the solar feminine. It reminds me of the solar feminine and the solar feminine codes, because it is a perfect symbol, perfect symbolism and archetype for the soul, the lunar force, which is represented by matter, and the lunar force represents the feminine side of consciousness on one level. But when she moves it into the core of the sun, she moves into the core of the solar codes and becomes in perfect sacred union. So soul and spirit are joined. And so it's not really a solar eclipse. It's actually like a joining of the masculine and feminine energies. And this is the energy of awakening that happens within us. It's so powerful, but it's the return of the solar light and the return of the solar codes within us. We'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by the solar codes. But so we just had solstice. It's winter solstice. We had winter solstice on the 21st in the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere represents the North, so it represents the ascending consciousness. And so at this time of year, we celebrate the return of the light, or the birth of the light. And that is the seeding of spirit. It's the conception and the seeding of spirit by the divine, or the seeding of consciousness and matter by the divine Christ force, or the divine Christic light. And so when we just take that in for a moment and think about what that means for consciousness. When I've done a lot of videos about the underworld and the soul being in the underworld, the soul in the underworld is a soul that is separate from that light. That light is the light that gives us more access to the true gifts and powers of the heart, of the true mind, the higher mind, and even of our creative force, our sexual force, but our all of our creative alignment from all of the centers. And so it's just such a beautiful, beautiful imagery and archetype of the awakening and the birth of the Savior, because the Savior is truly that which ignites consciousness and brings us back into alignment with the truth of who we are, our I am. Our I am, the Christ force is really the I am. And so at this time, this eclipse is going to be conjunct, or it's going to be at the south node in Capricorn. There's so much going on in Capricorn, and oh, good to see you. Good to have you here live. It's a south node eclipse. And so what that means is that it could be considered karmic, but it's really about the law of cause and effect and how we've used our energy, how we've used our creative capacity, which is hugely aligned with Capricorn as well as Cancer. Both Capricorn and Cancer are about birth. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the North Node is in Cancer right now. It's about birthing, but it's also about the home, and it's about, you often hear about nurturing. It's about our inner mother and how we birth, but we also have this energy in Capricorn. Capricorn is governed by Saturn. Saturn represents the force of creation. Once creation moves, once the energy of source or of the pure absolute begins to project itself into matter, it needs to have a force that brings the energies into their various forms. And so that force is governed by the archetype of Saturn, and Saturn governs Capricorn. So at the heart, at the very code imagery of Capricorn is the birthing element of the Divine Mother. And so it represents the one force. There is only one force in creation, and this is truly represented by Capricorn, that force has the possibility of binding us, or it has the possibility of liberating us. How we use it will determine what kind of world we create for ourselves. So in the mass consciousness and in the collective consciousness, what we see happening in the world is a result of our collective consciousness and our collective soul karma, our group karma on Earth. Within that consciousness, there are pockets of varying consciousness. There's a whole spectrum of consciousness. But one of the most powerful things about understanding, especially through the divine feminine wisdom, is that you have within you a mother. And that mother is capable of birthing that Christic force. When that happens, we're birthing our own solar feminine being, which means we're birthing our own body of light consciousness. And so it's really important to know that each one of us has that capacity to create the world that we live in. It's really big. We're going to talk a little bit about creativity. So connected to creativity. We'll look at the planets for a moment and just see how they're dancing, see what they're telling us. And then Capricorn ascendant, Saturn in the first house. All right. So, interesting. So if anyone who has, thank you. Anyone who has planets right now in the cardinal signs is really in for a lot of energy right now. If you have planets in Capricorn, in Aries, in Cancer, or in Libra, all of the activity that's happening. I did a video for the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. It's on right now, but it's going to be exact on January 12th. So we have that coming. We also have a lunar eclipse coming in Capricorn. I think it's on December or January 10th or 11th. The date slipped my mind, but it's coming 2 weeks from this eclipse. We're going to have a lunar eclipse. There's so much activity happening. We've been addressing it. We'll look at it a little bit more, but so many planets are in Capricorn, and it's so beautiful, especially to look at it through the eyes of the solar feminine, because I believe from intuition and from the work that I do and really looking at the energies that have been building here, is that there's a complete, and at the 12-12 portal, it's an inversion. It's a changing of the way we use energy, the way we create, the way we connect, and all of the mother energies, the way we birth, the mother and father polarity, which are represented by Cancer and Capricorn. Both represent primordial mother and father energies. And so our ability to change things and recreate things is so big right now. It's huge. It's huge. Many people are having crisis right now. I can say that I've heard from a lot of people, and I've been seeing it, where people are just literally freaking out, feeling like either they're out of control, they've wasted their life, they haven't accomplished anything, they're losing everything, they're losing ground, that all their negative patterns have too strong a hold on them, and they're not able to adjust and to recorrect. But the thing is that this is one thing that's really important. I just want to say this before we look at the planets. It's really important right now. And I just want to say that to everybody, to really, first of all, be really, really gentle with yourself if you're in that situation. I've had moments too where there's a lot of the contractive darker force that's really coming in right now, because it's like a final squeeze. And when we start to wake up, it's only natural. It's the same as a mother giving birth, that those contractions come in incredibly strong. It's the contraction that forces us to move into the light. It's if we don't get on, then we could collapse, and a whole number of things could happen. But right now, the best way to deal with that is to have a way that you can really just ground yourself and just take a time out. If you're going through what feels like trauma or trauma or drama, to really, really have your practice that you turn to, where you can. This is a time I actually find some of the masculine practices really, really powerful right now. And yeah, even talking about that's nice to hear, the inner mother. I will talk more about it. When we think of silence in the dark, which is really about what this solstice is about, it's the birth of the Christ force in the dark. Think of the dark womb. Think about going into the absolute or going into the void and forgetting about the world for a while. This is where teachings that have to do with, I always refer to the Advaita because I've been with those teachings, which I consider a kind of one of the masculine streams. But that's more attuned to Nirguna Brahman, which is the absolute, the Noggle, the cave, where you let go of the world, where you forget about being in form, where you choose not to project yourself into form. You choose to leave your identity for a while, leave the story that you have. We have to do that right now. Sometimes we just have to take a break and be back in the womb of our mother, as if we hadn't been born yet, and just let her hold us, feel like we're back with that umbilical cord and we're being fed through the divine substance, which is really on at this new moon solar eclipse. Okay, we got to get into this because there's a lot of really good things to say, but just know you have to find a way to drop out of form in order to just reboot. Do not, if you keep spinning with the drama, it can actually be dangerous, because right now there's a lot of energy on the planet, and so there's a lot of energy for dismantling, and so you want to be really aware of yourself when you need that time out to take it. Saturn rules time. Time is really, really changing right now. Time is it's just fluid. It's no longer so linear. And in fact, you can change your thoughts and immediately see a new field appear before you. I've been working with this a lot right now, and I've been working with it with some of the groups that I work with and some of the trainings that I do that really, really understand that time is not really what we think it is. And Capricorn rules time. And the mother and the feminine rules time also, because birth takes place along linear time. Very, very powerful. Okay, so let's look at, I'm so happy to hear that. Yes, I will tell you, I'm just going to say, I'm in touch. I have my hand on the pulse of humanity because of hearing from so many people. I've had so many people come and just almost sound out of their mind. And I know I've been there before. I know what it's like when you have crisis moving in on you. You just have to throw it away for a while. Just let go, give yourself a break, and know that the mind, which is also very ruled by Capricorn, can really grip in, and the mind wants to keep you on the spiral. It wants to keep you on the zodiac and on the wheel. And we're about, in divine feminine astrology, the kind of astrology that I work with here, we're about rising above the wheel into the higher zodiac. And we'll talk more about that in the next couple of videos. So let's look at the eclipse. So we have the eclipse, we have the sun, the moon at 4 degrees Capricorn for this annular solar eclipse. This is like a really, really powerful new moon, and we can really use this for Capricorn right now. Capricorn, this is Capricorn's time. It's in the axis of Cancer and Capricorn. It's a time of the mother father energies to kick off a new era. The North Node's been in Cancer and will be up until July. I did a video called the Return of the Cosmic Mother, and that energy is still very much on. But this is a time, this is really on Earth right now, and I'm going to be talking more and more about this. It's the return of the solar feminine codes, which come through the Divine Mother. And so this is a time of our remembrance of the feminine within all of us, because simply it's the masculine and feminine are governed on one level by the mother energy. And so both masculine and feminine energies have to be attuned to the mother of all in order to harmonize with each other. And so that's why this is really, really important. So we have this new energy birthing with the solar eclipse right at Christmas. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it's a very... a Christmas tradition is about the birth of Christ. It's about the manger in the heart. And it aligns with the winter solstice as well, and the new year that's coming. And so the new year, the new moon, the solar eclipse, we're moving into 2020. It's a new decade. Please come to the archetypes of 2020 if you're interested in the archetypes, because the archetypes that are coming in will tell the story of what's really happening as we enter into this new decade. So that's Friday, December 27th. Let me know if you're interested. It's going to be big. So we have the sun and the moon conjunct Jupiter. Jupiter is the energy that rules substance. Jupiter is known Kabbalistically as the Lord of Lords. And remember that you can always look at shadow energies of these archetypes. We always go for the light of the archetypes. Here, we're working above the zodiac. So when we look at archetypes, we're looking at the highest codes that they bring in. We're looking at the light codes, the solar feminine codes, which are aligning us with the true power of the soul. So Jupiter governs substance. It brings in the limitless substance through the higher elemental forms that help us to create. So with Jupiter, that's why Jupiter is known as a lucky planet. It's been a beneficial planet because, yes, oh yeah. So Jupiter it gives you, we talked about this when I talked about Jupiter entering Capricorn. I just got really excited because I talked about writing yourself a check from Jupiter, just kind of as an archetypal reminder that Jupiter in Capricorn is giving us a lot of substance to create with, a lot of green. I talked about it being the green leaves on the tree of life. The substance connected to the solar eclipse and the sun and the moon and trining Uranus and Taurus and Taurus is so much about abundance and the earth energy and the goddess. This energy in this trinity is about being given what we need for this new start. It truly, and it's at the beginning of the sign of Capricorn. It's been there about a month. This energy is about abundance. And it's very beautiful to have Jupiter conjunct the moon and the sun at the time of this. And the moon and the sun together are sacred union. It's conception and divine alchemy. So that's some of the archetypal wisdom around it. And Uranus in Taurus Uranus represents the cosmic egg, and it represents the energy that the solar feminine is birthed through. So it represents access to the higher realms. And so with the trine, which is a very harmonious flow, it's got this new moon solar eclipse at the holidays. It still may bring some, because of the Saturn-Pluto that's on right now and all the energies in Capricorns, people are still feeling tension. So please beware. You want to be really lighthearted and warm with family and loved ones, and be careful not to let old family triggers come in, because Capricorn rules family and it rules the father patriarch. And so we want to really at this time when there's this new energy and a solar eclipse coming in, which can also eclipse masculine energy, we want to be really conscious of family, and we're all family with each other, and not being careful to not let yourself get triggered and ride that spiral. So then we have Mercury. I want to say this because this is so great. Mercury at the galactic center, just so amazing to have Mercury at the galactic center downloading the energy. Mercury is the mind, and it also governs alchemy. I feel like there's another Mercury correspondence in there. But it will pop in. So Saturn is at 20 degrees Capricorn, conjunct Pluto at 22 degrees Capricorn. Both are at their south node. This energy has been on for a while, but we're getting ready to come into an exact conjunction on January 12th. And I did a video about it called Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It's a couple of videos back, but it's all about that. And I might cover it again because it's coming up. There's just so much energy. There's so much energy about rebirth, about death, about letting go, about dismantling, and about time. Saturn governs time. Pluto governs death and rebirth, regeneration and endings. So we have on one level, and this is so powerful, I just kind of got a huge hit thinking about it, that it's the end of time. This is so powerful. It's interesting that we're 7 years after the 2012 portal at winter solstice, which is the Mayan calendar. and it's the end of time. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction is really the death of time. What we're doing is we're rewriting time. We're breaking time and creativity of the feminine back in alignment with each other. This is very much entering into the divine feminine wisdom, but it's about how we birth and how we use time, because time is sacred, but time can bind us or it can liberate us. Some of the esoteric wisdom, it can bind us or it can liberate us. We have a choice. And our true sovereignty is about knowing that we have a choice in every moment. Sometimes, I was just talking about this with my Light Body Woman mentor group, that sometimes it feels like we don't. And there's sometimes where our karma and our body of pain has taken over us and we've checked out. We've checked out. Once you check out, it's a little bit too late. So when you're in a pattern and a big storm comes over you, an emotional drama storm comes over you, and it's the body of pain, that entity has taken you over. Once you're there, choice gets really blocked and really cloudy and murky. So there has to be a little bit of spark of consciousness. That spark of the solar light has to be there. But if you can summon that awareness and that consciousness, you have a choice. That's what free will is. Every moment right now, I can decide how I'm going to, what I'm going to say next. I can decide if I want to stay positive or if I want to go into a little bit more triggering material. There's a creative element working through me all the time. And there's also a dark voice. We have both the light and the dark constantly beaming at us. It's up to us which one we choose and how we harmonize them and bring them into alignment with our true creative power. So we also have Venus at 7 degrees Aquarius squaring Uranus. That's kind of it's not a tight square. Uranus is at 2 degrees Taurus. So Venus in Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, kind of bringing it on with Uranus and Taurus. I like that energy. It's actually, Venus is really connected to the age of Aquarius, and there's so much, we're entering the age of Aquarius right now. It's happening right now. Yes, it's an abundance year. Let's call it it's an abundance year, trust me. Archetypes of 2020. It's also a dismantling year. And with some of the events around this, let me just finish this up. Neptune at 16 degrees Pisces and Mars at 24 degrees Taurus. I'm sorry, Scorpio. That's so funny. I was thinking in terms of my axis. It's at Scorpio. All right. So what we're seeing right now on the Earth is a lot of political change and discord, especially. I mean, we've got things going on in the U.S. all over the world. In fact, I just told one of the women I'm working with in Light Body Woman, I don't very often listen to news, but I try out different platforms. I know there's all kinds of things that happen, but still it's good to tune in and hear what's going on through mainstream and hear how it's being presented. So I had a day of NPR. I listened to 2 hours of world news, and it was almost, like being in a horror movie. It almost didn't seem real. And I don't mean to sound negative, but I mean, when you heard every single thing and how it was covered, I won't even say horror movie. It's not, I mean, some things, yes, but it was like, it felt like the end of the world. I mean, 2 hours straight, and we covered basically the whole planet. You wouldn't know that there's anything positive happening in this world by listening to that. Now, it's very true. The whole matrix is coming down, and that's really happening. But we have to remember artists, creatives, those who are projecting in the new reality, and all of us. But I am specifically calling on visionary artists and poets and writers and teachers and healers and even policymakers. Trust me, there's a lot of sleeper cells in those areas. Create the new. This is time to create the new. Every archetype at this solar feminine eclipse in Capricorn, it's at the new year, it's at the new decade, it's at the holidays, it's at the birth. This is the birth of the solar feminine codes. The solar feminine is our ability to now birth with our God-given creativity, aligned with the divine will. So the egoic Well, yeah, there's a lot of manifesting, manifestation and all these things are really have been big for quite a while now. But our true manifestation is a receiving of the divine flow and the divine will. It's receptivity. Our true manifesting is to be so joyous and awake and choosing our sovereign moments that the flow of light will find you. There's a saying, if you once you open that flow, you're going to have to run from it because it's looking for you. Create that container, and the divine union and the solar feminine codes will be awake inside you. And it's just so beautiful. I'm going to take a moment and look down. Let me see what else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. We're going to talk more about this. This is birth. Because this is a lot of this is about birth. I put return of the solar feminine codes, but it's because on our cycles, and Capricorn rules cycles, it is the return. Every year we go through a cycle where we are returning, and it's taking us to a higher elevation. Each time we cross that threshold with awareness, it's moving us up the spiral. This is about the birth of the divine image, and I've been talking about this the past couple videos. But our divine image is our divine template of our solar feminine. It is the merging of our soul and our spirit. And it is all of us. Every single being on this planet has those energies, or they couldn't even be alive on this planet. So I find, and I've talked a lot about judgment, in order to access, to even get on this path where you're going to receive those energies, discernment, yes, but we have to, when we find ourselves judging others so harshly, which is such a common thing of the disease of our mind, we constantly are secretly judging everyone and finding the shadows in them instead of the light. We only block ourselves. That's the thing, is that, even I found, even in my own work, when I had to get really critical and I found myself super angry and getting into all these, pointing out who's dark, what's this, what's that. Everything in my life changed. And you could almost feel like, oh, I'm being attacked because I'm this or that. But you have to be really careful. There are divine cosmic laws that govern creation in order to keep creation so that there's some order. And so it only she will open to, the divine mother opens on the higher levels to those who have the capacity to balance. And so we have to come into a divine alignment, which that's why things like forgiveness and non-judgment are crucial. Because if we can't forgive, and if we're too judgmental, we're stiff and hard, and that can be a Capricorn shadow energy. We're cutting ourselves off from the substance and the sustenance. I'm going to take a moment and look down. Oh, thank you. I love that from Maui. Oh, Maui, I find, is so magical. I've been there a few times. And Kauai, all those islands are so beautiful. Yes, thanks for suggestion to navigate the birthing, purging, judgment of self, and judgment of yourself. So that's what I want to say. I want to say this. I often find that people that are really, really disturbed, going through a crisis and sending me like 10-page emails, when someone's really having a hard time, it's usually self-judgment. The thing is that when we think we're falling apart, our condemnation is most often of our own self. We're so hard on ourselves, and that just blocks us from receiving. Being reflective, and we have to, on the spiritual path especially, you have to be able to self-reflect and self-correct and be self-reliant. You have to. At certain points, we have to be self-reliant. We have to know, we have to own our karma, meaning the choices we've made that are just not working, and straighten them out. But we have to do that with the love of the Divine Mother. Now and then, there's a little harsh initiation that comes. Most people need to breathe and stop judging themselves. I find this in my work a lot, because I work with so many people, that I find when people criticize me, it becomes so apparent now that you can feel that the criticism or the judgment came from fear. Oftentimes we criticize those things. I was just talking about this with some people too. We criticize the things that we're terrified of. If you see somebody and their state makes you uncomfortable, you're going to feel it as judgment or criticism, but it's just because it may be triggering a fear in yourself, either that you also have that thing or that it would be your worst fear to be in that situation. So a lot of times we have to take a step back, because when we use those energies of fear and criticism, they drain our energy. They usurp our power to choose and our sovereignty. That's the only thing. This is all a dance of energy. The we is my perception of we. But the type of works, oh, I didn't see the first one. I judgment, we lock ourselves out of heaven. Yes. We lock ourselves out. We do it to ourselves more than we think. And we have all these mythologies about this journey. All this whole journey of the soul is recorded in mythology. It's all allegory. All of this energy, it's all being projected by us, and most everything is teaching us these solar codes within us. So the holidays are about magic. I'm gonna start to close out pretty soon. I just want to say this came to me. The holidays are about magic. It's about, I know that, and I don't mean to be insensitive to anybody who's having I've had many holidays alone, completely alone, some by choice, not, where I got to feel some tremendous depth, and I've had tremendous loneliness or isolation. It can be really hard. Or if you're not getting along with someone, or let's say you broke up in a relationship, it can be really, really devastating at that time. So I just want to be sensitive. If you're going through a hard time, find that hearth fire and that baby Jesus. Find that Christ within you. That is an archetype that appears in all traditions. So find the inner child being birthed this time of year. It's your own inner child risen into the solar feminine. The holidays are about magic and pure joy, the innocence. When we think of the Saint Nicholas or the Santa Claus tradition, it's about innocence. It's about magic. It's about believing that, most kids even don't really, I see people get conflicted about Santa Claus, but truthfully, at the core, a lot of kids don't believe in Santa Claus, but they want to believe. It's like the Polar Express. They want to believe because they can go into their creative imagination and embrace it. They don't care. It's like you realize there's no Santa, you're like 7, 8, but you still want a couple more years. When we're children, we don't care. We want the use of the creative imagination. We want to believe in goodness, in giving, in receiving, in magic. That's what this time is about. It's about the coziness of the home. It's about the coziness of our inner home, and it's about the womb. It's about being in and being around that light, around that. I do Hanukkah, I do Christmas. We have our menorah up right now. I have a brand new tree right in front of me. It's about, and there's also outside my window, they planted a whole bunch of new evergreens where trees have been cut down, and they're just beautiful. It's so amazing. But just knowing, gather around the light. And if it's a year where you're alone or you're lonely, make the light. I know when I lived in New York City a couple years, I just put up lights around my apartment. I was all by myself. I bought myself something special to eat, put on some music, and I meditated. I just was like, this is a year, and I've done that many years on New Year's. Just meditate and birth yourself into this new decade, because it's really, really a beautiful time. What we identify and what we love will express through us, and we will become what we love. So use your Capricorn powers of creation, of birthing spirit into matter. Really align with the true love of your heart right now, and the true belief that this one force, the universe, is working for us. It's a matter of removing the veil. We have to lift the veil and see that the universe is really magical. It takes one thought sometimes. Often work with this when I'm just looking at some last little notes I had. I'm often working with this when I work with people to know. I've seen where I thought everything was falling apart in one day, and I just said, wait a minute. Stopped, took a minute, thought of something I love, thought of a person I love, a child I love, and instantly I remembered what is beautiful about life. It's that in even the film It's a Beautiful Life, we just talked about that in my group. Okay, all right, so that's it. I just want to say, oh, I have some really good new things coming this year. So thank you. It's so nice to see there's a lot of new subscribers. So welcome to all the new subscribers. I just want to say that there's going to be a lot of new things coming on this platform. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. I'm changing the format in 2020. I've been called to really align now with my core curriculum at Art of the Feminine. And so I specialize in the divine feminine wisdom, which governs all of creation, both male, female, child, everything in between. So in 2020, I'm going to even be returning to some of the old podcasts, but it's going to be really special. So please subscribe if you want to get notifications. And coming in 2020 in January, and then I'm going to look at questions again. I'm going to take one more look. Happy Hanukkah. Oh, thank you. And happy Christmas. Light Body Woman 8-week mentoring starts January 15th. If you are interested, some of you who have already let me know, I have not yet sent out the information. It's going out this week for sure. I promise you, in the Akashic Insight newsletter on Thursday, 8-week mentoring group program. I just completed the fall one. It was absolutely amazing. Working some special work that I teach for women, and it's absolutely amazing. So please look for the sign up or contact me directly. All right, I'm going to take one last peek down here. Angel hugs. Oh, angel hugs to you too. Sending you lots of love, and sending everyone lots of love. Let's just do a blessing to close out for today, for the holidays. I will see you really soon, but let's do I am in the 7 directions. Just calling in the Christic force through the solar feminine, birthing it into your auric field. I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. I am, I am, I know I am. I am, I am. I know I am. All right. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Namaste, and I will see you soon.